Welcome to the 2025 Dialogue, a masterclass series by the HR Association of India. I am Neha Jignani, and today's session explores a theme that lies at the heart of modern leadership. Our topic today is leadership in motion, how continuous learning shapes organizational agility. To take us through this powerful conversation, we are joined by an inspiring voice in the field of learning and leadership, Dr. Anjana Vinod. Dr. Anjana, with 32 years of experience, is a force of nature in the world of learning and development. A TEDx speaker, a certified coach, an EQ assessor, she blends science with storytelling, data with human connection, and strategy with soul. Whether she is mentoring professionals, coaching breast cancer warriors, or shaping leadership mindset, she does it with boundless energy and an unwavering passion for impact. A three-time national awardee and Mrs. India International Classic 2023, she's inspired audiences across the armed forces, PSUs, and global leadership forums. Beyond the training room, she finds joy in mandala art, storytelling, and cheering on her sports-enthusiast daughter at HEC Paris. Dr. Anjana, thank you so much for joining. It's a pleasure having you. Would love to hear your thoughts on the topic as well.
Sure. You know what? When you gave me this topic and you spoke about leadership in motion, um, I was taken. It took me a moment to think about it. It's like, yes, isn't leadership in motion very similar to what our roots go to? And if you look at it, all our ancestors were farmers, and so was my father-in-law. So, I was just thinking when I was talking to him once, when I had been to my native place, what he said was, we don't, a wise farmer will never grow the same crop every season. I'm like, shouldn't we have a specialization that this is what we grow every time? So he said, no, because you need to understand that the field needs to rejuvenate themselves. The field needs to come back to its power so that it can yield a better crop next time. Take a moment to think, isn't leadership in motion all about that? Isn't it all about rewiring yourself so that you can explore and come much better? So for me, the way I look at this topic is going back to our roots of farming and recultivating a different crop every time with a proper pause and grow kind of an effect.
Sure. What a way to begin this masterclass, Dr. Anjana. Truly thought-provoking approach, and I look forward to this exciting masterclass. To begin with, Dr. Anjana, I want to know, what does leadership in motion actually means to you in the context of today's fast-paced workplaces?
Mm. Uh, so tell me something, Neha. Have you ever seen a river? We
Yes.
all have, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you see, for me, leadership in motion is just like the river. It's always moving. It's never stagnated anywhere. And it'll adapt to the terrains, it'll adapt to the bends, it'll adapt to everything that is needed on its pathway while the goal is very clearly defined. It kind of paves its path through every single thing. And in today's world, which is all about constant disruption. It's all about, the way things are moving around, the new things that is coming up. Leadership is not about a static position. It's all about how adaptive are we, when it came to the way leaders were before to leaders that kind of transformed themselves during the COVID times to the leaders that are working with Gen X or Gen Zs, and now we have the Generation Alpha. So I feel leadership, when we talk about it, it's like that bird, who does not trust the branch because he has very strong wings. And that's exactly like the river path, kind of navigates its way. For me, leadership, when we talk about the holistic part of leadership in motion, it's about that. And I love to play with acronyms. So I was just thinking, we're talking about motion. Can motion be an acronym for leadership? And the answer is yes, because M in motion stands for mindful agility. Being aware of the shifts before it turns into a shock. So, am I seeing the path? Am I seeing something that is going to probably anticipate, preempt something that's going to happen? So, that's called about mindful agility. How mindful am I about being agile? O in the motion stands for ownership mindset, taking charge and not awaiting a direction to be given, being proactive and making sure that you take ownership for everything that you do in terms of what is driven inside. P in the motion is about making sure that I have enough trust in my team and I'm building that trust. Because remember, momentum is only possible or movement is only possible when there is trust. When there is trust, everybody builds in so easily on that. I in the motion stands for innovation at every single level. Letting people explore. We talk about giving ownership to people. We talk about giving accountability to people. And I strongly believe that accountability, responsibility can be given, ownership is taken, because that's what I give to you as a return. So for me, those things become very important. And when I say we need to have an innovative mindset, it clearly means that do I have room for failure? Because not every innovation is successful. How much of appetite do I allow my people to have that so that they know when I'm thinking out of the box, I'm not going to be penalized for doing that. And O simply stands for do I have open loops for giving regular feedback, listening and adjusting, building on somebody's ideas? And the N in motion simply talks about navigating through that change with the calm. So, if I had to look at two trees, a bamboo tree and an oak tree, if I ask you which is stronger, obvious answer is Anjana, oak tree is stronger. But, the bamboo tree will bend, the oak tree doesn't. So the way I put it across is the bamboo tree that bends is stronger than the oak tree that really resists any kind of change. So that's what leadership in motion means for me.
Very well said, Dr. Anjana, especially the beginning point where you mentioned it's pretty much like a flowing river. Leadership doesn't have to be static. It's about how adaptable it is, and beautifully explained all the acronyms of the motion. And last but not the least, a beautiful example between the trees. If you're more flexible, you're more open, that will be more sustainable for any leader. So thank you so much, Dr. Anjana. My next question is, how does continuous learning help leaders and teams stay agile when priorities shift?
When I look at when you look at how does continuous learning help leaders, teams stay agile, priority shift, how does it really work altogether? Uh, so yesterday I flew down from Chennai, and this morning when I was thinking about you, what could leadership in motion look like? Don't you think it's like that oxygen mask signal that the air hostess reads out and says, in case of emergency, you wear your mask first before helping somebody else? So
Right.
for me, continuous learning for a leader is like that oxygen mask. You are only going to be able to help in times of uncertainty, helping people inhale knowledge, give them that guidance if you have one yourself. In shifting times of priority, not only your experience can build everything, but it's that ability to learn, to unlearn, to relearn, to learn from your juniors, to learn from your seniors, not having that ego framework which says, it's me, I'm always right. No, it doesn't work that way. Correct. So, a continuous learning is the ability for a leader to learn from any source, could be a junior, could be a senior. And one of the best examples from my personal life I would love to give you. So I always talk about this when it comes to learning from your juniors, correct? Uh, I have a lovely daughter, and a mother-daughter relationship is something which is very common to the world. So she and I one day, on some very silly reason, had a big showdown. And to the extent that I went and said, go find another mother for yourself. I'm not your mother from today. And she also said, yeah, you also go and find another daughter. And, that heated argument the moment we say everything. And anyways, that all got over. We had our dinner. We went off to sleep. So she typically used to, as a child, have a habit of putting both her legs on me. And that night, when she tried to do that in that rage of anger, I kept pushing her leg away, kept pushing her leg away. But eventually, I gave up. I was like, even I'm feeling sleepy. It's okay. Just let her leg be on me. I got up in the morning and I was making tea, and the usual self that she is, she will get up in the morning, she'll hug me from behind and she'll tell me, good morning, mama. A quick 4-5 minutes of pampering and, coochie cooing her. And then she goes and starts her routine. Nothing changed next day morning. And she came and she hugged me, and I was like, don't hug me. You remember? I'm not your mother. Mama, that was yesterday. Today is a new day. Believe me, Neha, it hit me so hard that time that being resilient at that tender age was so easy for her. And just because you're grown up, look at the amount of ego that you hold about your decision that you refuse to change. Resilience is something I learned from her. So I feel as a leader, when you learn from any source, doesn't matter if it's your junior or your senior, I think that's the time when you actually truly become a leader.
So beautifully put, Dr. Anjana. So actually, readiness, flexibility actually helps you pivot faster in life. Much
Absolutely.
better than being rigid in any scenario. So thank you so much. My next question, Dr. Anjana, is what small habits can leaders build to keep learning as a natural way of their workday?
Uh, so, Stephen Covey's Seven Habits of Highly Effective People talks about sharpen your saw. Don't wait for it to turn blunt to sharpen it. So, for me, the way I look at it is when you talk about learning becoming a part of your habit, a part of your system, it just helps you build yourself more better. So it's like, a very simple, again, going back to farming, if I have to talk about, it's like irrigation. I give little water every day. That is so much better than a yearly flood that destroys everything. So if I tell you that, okay, Neha, I think you will not have food for the next 2 days, eat how much ever you can today. It's obviously not going to be possible. So, I work throughout the year. In December, when I have free time, I'm going to sit and learn. It obviously is not going to give you the results that it is. So, having that small capsulated bite on a regular interval kind of builds the sustainability model. So, the way I look at it is if I have to talk about three habits, 3R, could be the easiest way, or 3R ritual, the way I would like to call it, is the easiest way of doing it. Where we say read something beyond your domain on a daily basis. Now, it could be anything that you read, something that makes you reflect on yourself. The second R is reflect. Whatever you have read. So, for 10 minutes, ask, what did I learn today? Reflect on your entire day and say, okay, you know what? This is something that happened, which I felt is a good learning experience for me. And the third R is reach out. Being vulnerable and telling people I don't know is not a weakness, but a strength. So, have a learning conversation in a week with someone younger or someone from a different function will help you look at things better. Now, this is something that I learned, when I used to practice this quite regularly when my daughter was here, now that she's traveling. But whenever I had to deliver a program, I would tell her that, oh, I'm explaining this concept, I'm going to explain it to you. And then she would just suddenly turn back and go, that is so difficult to understand, Mark. Can't you make it more easier? And a lot of times that kind of works brilliantly well because having another perspective to the whole thing changes. There's this beautiful story about this father who's very busy and he looks at his daughter and the daughter tells him, Dad, I want to play with you. And he says, okay, give me 5 minutes. So he's like, what is 5 minutes? She's too young to know that. So he says, can you see that big needle? Moment it touches the tree, 5 minutes will be over. So she says, great. And she's waiting, looking at the dancing and looking at the clock. Okay, little more to go, little more to go. And she does all of that drama. And moment it touches the tree, she screams and says, Papa, done. Now, the father, obviously busy with his work, what he does is he very simply sees a newspaper and he sees a globe out there. He tears it into small, small pieces, gives it to this little child and says, Beta, join this globe and Papa is yours. So she says, great. And not more than 4 minutes, she's done. And the father looks at the globe and he's like, wow, where did you learn this? And she looks confused and she looks at him and she's like, learn what, Papa? Nee, do you know what the globe looks like? How did you join? What globe? There is Minnie Mouse behind the paper, Papa. I joined Minnie Mouse. It's all about perspective. This is my favorite quote that I always say. Life was very beautiful when apple and blackberry were just fruits. We love to complicate things for ourselves. So
Beautiful.
having a
Beautiful.
habit of small bites of learning really works.
Wonderful, wonderful, absolutely. And we can safely say that improving a little bit every day is much better than, setting big targets and going with that.
Yeah.
And absolutely
Yeah.
loved a beautiful takeaway from this was the 3R approach. Um, Read something new beyond your domain. Then there was reflection, and the last point was reach out. Strength is in actually being vulnerable and speaking your heart out. So thank you so much. Next question, Dr. Anjana, is how can organizations create space for learning without slowing down on the performance?
Super. Uh, have you ever seen a Ferrari race?
Yes.
Yes. Uh, there are pit stops, right? And pit stop is a part of the race. They don't count that time out. It's a part of the race. Similarly, have you ever seen a potter making a pot? He will run the wheel and he's shaping it while the wheel is on. Correct? That does not stop the productivity. So learning should not be seen as a pause. I look at it as a performance accelerator. Just like a Formula One doesn't stop race when it's refueling, changing the tires, doing all of this. And you have a world record of zero point 0.6 seconds where all the four wheels are changed and it's back on track, correct? So organizations, I think, need to build these learning pit stops within the performance, as a part of it, as a part of the journey. So it's just like the two wings of a bird, where you talk about learning or as one wing and performance as the other. You cannot flap with only one. You need both to accelerate and go ahead. So, when we say that you need to really work towards it, fast does not mean frantically moving. It simply means having a very focused approach in the motion part that we are taking. So if organization starts looking at, counting the hours of training instead of counting hours of training, what if they count the impact of the transformation that has happened? A lot will change in the way they look at things. Correct. So slowing down performance will only happen when you do it as a separate activity altogether. But if you incorporate it as a part of the learning journey, then I don't think organizations are really slowing down. It's just going ahead.
Sure. Thank you so much. I think the biggest highlight of this was the pit stop. It's a part of the journey, as you rightly said, and it will remain very critical when you're learning in the learning ecosystem. So, thank you so much for that, Dr. Anjana. This brings us to the last question, which is in your experience, what qualities will define true agile leaders in the next few years?
Uh, you know what? I will just answer this pretty straight and simple. Uh, Leadership agility, according to me, is the art of, making sure that you're spinning that wheel while you're making the pot. So agile in itself probably answers the question, where A is about awareness. Do I read any patterns in the way I am functioning? What do I look at it when I look at it holistically? How aware am I about my own self? The way I conduct, the way I learn, the way I encourage people. G in the agile is about having that growth mindset, viewing change as a teacher and not as a punishment given by a teacher. So, can I have a mindset that looks beyond, having another perspective? I is about including, drawing your strength from the diverse voices that you hear within the system. Can I look at including people? So, how many times does a finance meeting have probably an admin guy sitting there? How many times does the HR meeting has a IT person sitting there? We don't, because we feel they don't understand. But getting their perspective probably changes the whole thing, and the ecosystem becomes even more adaptive to different kind of perspective, because you know what is the grind the other person is going through. L, I think, is the most important one, which is listening. When you are tuning into what's not being said, and that only happens when you are listening not only to the words, to the tonality, but listening to it holistically. So, say for example, Neha asked Anjana, Anjana, how are you doing today? And Anjana is like, oh, Neha, brilliant. You know what? I came in late, but I'm doing great. Everything is fine. What did Neha really listen? I came in late. I'm doing fine. But did she see her pressing her head? Does that mean she's really fine? So, listening holistically is what we are talking about. And the last E is about I think the world talks about emotional intelligence. So we talk about emotional steadiness. How do I respond calmly to a chaos? So, I feel that leadership is like taking that surfboard, going out sailing. The waves can be at different length, different height. You can't control the waves, but you control your surfing ability. When you go sailing, you control that blinds of the sails. You just manage everything with that because everything cannot be in your control when we talk about leadership. And agility is about managing what is controllable in a manner that helps you get the results.
Sure, absolutely. Beautifully put, Dr. Anjana. So there is awareness, there is growth mindset, there is inclusion, there is listening and emotional intelligence. So is it safe to say that the leaders of tomorrow will lead with less control and more with connection? Is what I
Absolutely.
understood from your, opinion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think beautifully summarized. Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anjana. So this brings us to the end of this masterclass. Thank you so much for your thoughtful insights. And you actually reminded us that true agility is not about moving faster. It's about staying curious. It's about leading with purpose. It's about empathy. It's about attachment. And, making that learning ecosystem stick with you, not as a big target, but making it an everyday habit. So thank you so much for your insights today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.